Hi, my name's Ashley McLeod,
And I'm Janice.
and we are here to present racism in your community from the lens of young adults. Me and Janice decided to put this panel together of young adults to speak about their truth coming from our community. So we did a couple of conversations and meetings about the state of our country and how it's making all of them feel. We have a group that is very diverse and comes from different backgrounds. So you're going to see someone, if they're young adults on here, you'll be able to connect with someone that is this on this viewing. Me and Janice feel very passionate about this as we are emerging young leaders in our community, and we felt that we needed to put together a group of young adults because we are the future and we need to have our voices heard as well. I think this is a very important topic, especially for our community, as you know, the world's changing. And with that, I would like to get into some introductions. So we'll start with Dewan.
All right, I'm on here. Hello, everybody. My name is Dewan. I'm 21 years old.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. We're gonna let people connect and things.
I love technology.
Yeah.
We're all trying to get used to this in the state of the pandemic, trying to get used to online learning and communication.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So dealing with the recent events in our country, we're also dealing with a pandemic, which adds on an extra layer for everybody. Mm-hmm. So
especially mentally. We have Janiyah next. She would like to introduce herself. I think we're a little paused.
Yeah, we might have some things going on.
No worries.
That's all right. We will get it right.
Well, Dewan, since we have on.
What's up?
You know, we want to get it started because we only do have a short time frame. Oh, wait. I think we got it, y'all. Gotta unmute yourselves. There you go.
All right. Would you like to introduce yourself, Miss Janiyah?
Hi, I'm Janiyah Freeman. I'm 19 years old. I'm feeling very overwhelmed with everything that's going on. It honestly surprises me that white people are still acting the way they're acting. And I always know that racism will be a problem because there will always be those people that feel threatened by Black people.
Mm-hmm. And how does that make you, I understand how you feel, but how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like, I don't know, it makes me feel mad, kind of.
Yeah. Which is
angry and upset. Kashar, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kashar Bowman. I'm 19 years old. How I feel about this whole situation, I'm tired. Why am I tired? Because my family, and not just my family, all minorities have been dealing with this for a long time. And it feels like that we've gotten nowhere. And with all of this going on and people adding on extra stuff other than brutality, which also plays a fact, but something's got to change. Because at this moment, we're not going anyways. We're not going anyways.
Thank you. Andrew?
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm 21. I guess I just feel I'm disappointed, but not surprised about this. People it's not okay what's going on. I hate to see both people that I know and people that I don't know be mistreated. It's awful, and it needs to end.
Shaylin,
Thank you for joining us tonight too.
thank you.
Hi, I'm Shay. I'm 23. And I guess how I'm feeling, just a combination of everything that everyone's already said. Like, like I'm just tired of the ignorance and the killings and just everything that's going on top of this pandemic. It's been a rough few months. That's all I can say. But it's been a long time coming.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, Shay.
Of course.
And last up,
Mr. Ethan.
hello.
Hey.
Hi, my name is Ethan Riley. I'm 19 years old, and to sum it up, I'm distraught by all of this.
Yeah.
Distraught and tired that we still live in a world where friends and family of mine are discriminated because of the color of their skin and don't have an equal advantage that someone with the color of my skin can have in society today. It's beyond words. It's tiresome, and I mean, I have my own two siblings that it worries me that they have to grow up in a world like this, just having to live in fear because a person my skin could be afraid of them, and it's not good.
Well, Janice, you're next. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm tired, angry. I feel everything that everyone is feeling. But tonight, I'm just glad that you all have the space to be able to talk about and vent basically about your feelings and what it is that you endured within your community, but also what you see within America, whether it's police brutality or relationships, family, friends, personal, So I'm really happy that we get the chance tonight to be able to talk this out. And I really hope that there's a lot of young adults out there that are tuning in and listening. So I just want to say thank you all. Be honest, be brave, be unapologetic, and let's get it started. You want to take it away, Ash?
Yeah, so thank you for, telling me how you feel, because I feel the same exact way. And it's like not stopping. So, every day we're turning on, it's like every day we want to be done with this, but every day we're turning on the TV and it just showed you how we can't be done with this. So I think the time is now that we have to have these open discussions so we have better understandings of one another. So I just want to kind of start off, anybody can answer. How has this kind of affected you and your personal friendships? Have you had to lose some friends? Have you had to educate some friends? How is that going for any of you?
Well, me personally, I have lost a few friends just based on their ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
I know they won't fully understand and grasp what I go through as a young Black man, but when I explain to you and you have rebuttals, and we're trying to do stuff to end racism. There shouldn't be any ifs, ands, or buts about that. There should never be. There shouldn't be stuff like that. There have been friendships that have grown stronger. I see them in solidarity with me. So shout out to them. I love them for that. But for the people I lost, it's all right.
Yeah, and it could be a bit traumatic almost, because you think you know somebody, right? And then true colors start showing. Shaylin, how have your friendships changed and relationships changed during this time?
Well, honestly, majority of my friends have always been white, to be honest. So I have had a few they've spoken up, they've shared petitions, they signed them, they donated. But on the other hand, I've also had people who just have said nothing, like not even as to just reach out to see how I'm feeling about the situation. So I guess like that just kind of allowed me to realize that just because someone has one Black friend doesn't necessarily mean that they like Black people. you were like that one exception. And I think this really showed that. And then, yeah, I've had to let a few people know because, you know, I'm in an all-white sorority as well. So I think a lot of people just don't realize their privilege. And I think it was up, like, I had to do it. Like, I had to show them, I had to educate them and show them how they can help. So I think, yeah, it's been tough. But it's part of growing, I guess.
That's true.
That is true.
Although it is, I can get what you're saying about being around, you know, when you're in predominantly white institutions or communities or areas, you know, and dealing with that and feeling surprised because you felt that you'd be able to lean on them or that they would be there to support or advocate or be an ally. How were, because given your employment, and DeJuan, you could answer, and everyone else too, your conversations with your employees and your employers? Because we know in the state of America, I mean, from social media to media to personal, employers that were standing out against it and that were advocating and that were helping, was that the same case for you all? And how did you feel if it wasn't?
I honestly, no one who I work with really reached out to me. There wasn't a letter sent from our higher ups. The only thing that our higher ups sent was about how to protect our store from rioters. So that made me angry because you have a lot of African American people who work in your stores, and the first thing that you realize is the protests and the rioting, and I think that's a big part of the problem. And then for my coworkers, they said nothing. Like, you know what I mean? They're sharing posts on Facebook, completely ignoring why, like the reason behind everything and why it's happening. So, you know, that really upset me too.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Andrew, any thoughts?
I'm personally very happy to work for a place like BTW because BTW is really, they put up the banner in the front yard. They posted on Facebook about it. I don't know if you saw it, but they just made shirts about it, and it's just nice to work for an organization to see them saying something. As for my coworkers, the coworkers that I've talked to are very pro Black Lives Matter, and it's a great environment. Great things.
Might have a little technical. You back, Andrew? We got you.
Oh yes, sorry.
Okay, all right. Go ahead. It froze a little bit mid.
Oh, I was just saying it's just great to work for a place that actually cares. Because I can tell you the last place that I worked for, well, they don't exist anymore, so I'll just say I worked for AC Moore, and I have a strong feeling they wouldn't have done a single thing. They probably wouldn't have said anything. And it's unfortunate. I'm just glad to work for somewhere that cares now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people think the silence matters. And I think they don't realize that we actually need to hear your voice, you know?
And I do want to clarify that my coworkers from AC Moore have been very vocal in support of Black Lives Matter, but corporate wouldn't have had anything to say about it.
It's so important that businesses who have a diverse staff say things in support of their staff, because they're the people who make their business run. Without your employees, there is no business. So, I truly believe that if you have someone, it's true that if you have people of color in your organization, I feel, something should be said. Janiyah and Kashar, how have any of your relationships changed with your friends?
Most definitely, actually. There was a couple friends that I've been friends with since, I'd say, preschool, even before that I had to cut off from the simple fact that they didn't say anything. The reason, people that are sitting here thinking that you can be neutral. You cannot be neutral in this situation. It's either you're with us or against us, because there's too many neutral people that it's not making any change. It's not affecting at all. There's no effect that's helping us, none of that. And to me, for a couple of my friends, I am disappointed. But at the same time, I do have a couple of friends that constantly check up on me, that constantly say something. Like, I should not have to have my friends worry about me and my safety on a constant basis, just because of the simple fact of my skin color. And I understand there are some bad apples in African American communities, but we're not all bad. And that's what people just don't understand. And the more people can say that, the more our voices can be heard. But there's a lot of people that don't want to use their voice, and that is the problem.
Very, very nice. Miss Janaya, have your relationships changed?
Yeah, I haven't talked to none of my friends since all of this happened. Not one of them checked up on me, said anything to me, posted anything. So I just cut them all off and rocked by myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Ethan answer before I ask the question. Go ahead, Ethan.
I don't think much of my relationships have changed, but I've definitely seen that people don't really speak out, I guess. Like, they have the platforms and they have the voice to do it, but they just don't do it. And that's what makes me like question my friendships with them sometimes. Like, I don't know if I can be friends with you if you can't stick up for people that you claim to be your friends who are Black. Like, you need to stick up for all of your friends, no matter the color of their skin. Use your voice and just express how you feel. Like, I guess that's about it. I just don't know. It's weird that they're not speaking up.
It is, and it's my question, what I wanted to ask is, why do you feel that they're not speaking up? You know, putting yourself maybe in their shoes. You know, why do you think some may not say anything? Do you feel they don't know what to say? Do you feel that it's ignorance? What are some of the things going on in your mind?
I'd have to say that maybe they're afraid to speak up. Maybe they feel like they'll say the wrong things or they won't word it the right way, but maybe at the same time they are ignorant. They don't feel the same way that they claim to feel. Like, they don't truly accept Black people for who they are. But I feel like even if they don't know what to say, they should still find a way to say something. Like, even the smallest amount of words can mean something to any bit of cause. Like, just speak up and say something. Speak your mind.
I agree.
Anyone
would like to add to that?
I think that a lot of people, like, they come from, like, they can be for us, but their family isn't. Or, like, they have a lot of close friends that they grew up with and they aren't. I think it scares them of the outcome that could happen. You know, because, like, you can't just be like, okay, I'm cutting off my parents, even though I'm living with them and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people are just scared of how their family and some of their friends would react if they did. I think that's been a big thing.
That's actually a really good point to be made.
It really is.
Dynamics that kind of change during times.
I kind of just want to bounce off of that and say, I know people who I said to them, like, why haven't you said anything? And their response was just like, well, I know that my friends wouldn't agree with this, and I know that my friends would attack me for it. And, like, they talk to me and they're saying things that are true. Like, they're on the right, they're supporting the right things, but their friends just would completely come for them if they said anything about it. And I know other people, like you were saying about your parents, or not your parents specifically, but like other people's and their parents. Like, I know people who their parents have said to them, like, don't post anything. I don't want you to post anything. And it's just, it's tough for people sometimes like that.
It is. It is. It's the pressure all the way around. Honestly, and those are really good points that everyone is making about why some people may not answer, may not speak out. It doesn't mean you shouldn't speak out. You should find your voice, definitely, because one day it could be that person that's not speaking out, looking for the same support, So it's we're riding fine lines and thin lines these days, for sure. So let's get into our own community and social media. We all have it. How are you feeling about the responses in our own community? Anybody could take the floor on that.
Let's hear from Janaya and Kashar and Dewan.
Okay.
And then everyone else can chime in on this one.
I feel like most of our community has been very helpful in like helping us speak out and stuff like that. But there are those people that are just terrible. Like when we would protest and people would ride by just screaming terrible things at us. And yeah. But most of the community is doing their part in helping us get our message out. Listening.
Kashar, would you like to piggyback?
Yeah, I can also agree to that because there's so many more organizations with different buildings like the YMCA. I've never seen so many united people before, all in one, supporting a Black Lives Movement, all as one, everybody on the same page. I've never seen that before because in my other workplace, I never seen that. Why? Because there were so many anti-African American supremacists, and it's kind of crazy to me because there's so many of them that like our culture, that like our swag, that like our music. Yet you hate us just because of our skin color. So you mean to tell me that you love everything about us, but once we get in your presence, we're all of a sudden threatening to you? That doesn't make sense to me at all.
Dewan?
I feel like Auburn is they're doing a good job, but I don't think it's coming from like the leaders of Auburn. It's coming from people in the community. It's not coming from the mayor or coming from the boards or anything. It's coming from people in the community pushing that agenda, and they feel pressure to respond to do things. I felt like if they did that on their own accord, it'd be a lot different. Maybe there'd be more support. There's a ton of support, but there can be a lot more. Sometimes I feel it's not as genuine as they make it seem. They're just doing it to keep face, to save face. I don't know. If you're not genuine about it, then don't do it. That's how I feel.
And that brings up a really good point about feeling the pressure. Because I think going back to media, social media and everything you see all of the businesses and people in the community and small, everywhere showing and advocating and supporting. Do you feel it's because that it's genuine, or do you feel because they feel pressured to do so? Not just within our own community, but other businesses as well, because we've been following, we've been seeing it. We're all part of the millennials here. So I know you guys are on social media all the time. So, and you see it. So how does that actually make you feel? Because it is 2020. So do you feel that it is genuine? Do you feel that it's about time? Are you embracing the change, or do you feel that it's pressure? And do you feel that what they do, there should be more? Adding a crayon or adding a brown Band-Aid. You know what I mean? Do you feel that solves the problem, putting the Band-Aid over it? Or do you feel that there should be more? than just that, and that it should have already been happening. What are your thoughts on that?
I'll go, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of businesses, they are genuine about it. And I think, they didn't need to see other businesses pushing this agenda before they spoke out against it. Like personally in our community, that I noticed, there were two businesses that posted like as soon as everything happened, and that was obviously APT and Simple Rose. And I think those companies, like, I think they're very genuine, and like they like equality, like they like to be a part. Like you see, they do everything for Women's March and Harriet Tubman and Pride. So like I think they are really genuine. But then I do think there's those other businesses, and they think, oh, putting a Black Lives Matter sign in my window, that's going to get them to support my business. That's going to get them to come into my shop. So, yeah, I think it's split in half, honestly. I think some are really genuine and some just aren't. I think it's a part of their marketing.
That's a good point. Anyone else like to add?
I'll add something. When it comes to social media, like if we're going between just people and businesses, as Shay said, I think it's pretty split. Like you see people who are very genuine about it, who are actually speaking up against it, but then you can also see someone who might just be posting something just because another person posted it, just trying to seem like maybe they're actually spreading awareness, but they're just trying to seem like they actually care, but they're not being actually like genuine about it. Like you'll see some companies and some people, like when you read what they put out there on social media, you can tell it's like heartfelt and you know that it's genuine, but then you see people just posting stuff that you see on 50 other people's stories over and over, and it's just, I don't think that's the genuine part of it.
Yeah.
Like they're doing it like a friend.
Yeah. And as we all know, this is not a trend and it's not a drill. This is our lives, right? So, what may seem trendy is not, because it's taking so many unnecessary lives. So.
I agree. I feel playing off of the media, and we see this a lot. I mean, we saw this with the pandemic and, playing off of the fear of America. Do you feel that the media makes it or portrays it in a way to create that separation and that hate? How do you feel about how the media portrays it? Because given these months that we've been inside and given your age, the media, technology, the news, everything, the radio, whatever it is that you're listening to or viewing, how do you feel about the way that they portray African Americans, the way that they portray the police brutality, the way that they portray what is going on in America?
I personally feel like the media tries to portray it in the worst way possible sometimes. Like you see all around, you barely see any of the peaceful sides and the genuine sides to this whole entire movement, but mainly you see all of the brutal sides and people trying to, I guess, antagonize the whole problem of it and just try to create more chaos than what we already have, and just try to make this even more of a problem than it already is, trying to continuously add on to the problem instead of trying to allow the good stuff that they're trying to hide and just allow that to shine and let people see a different perspective, I think.
Right. And I definitely feel like we see racism in the media every single day. When you look at an article and when an article is about a white woman who committed a crime and it says mother of 3 murders person, and the photo on the article is a picture of a professionally taken photo of her 3 children, and then it's the same scenario but switch the person's race, and it's just black person kills somebody, and it's their mugshot, and it's very noticeably biased.
Very good point. Sorry. That's a very good point. The media is definitely playing to the tune of who runs the show. And so the narrative being pushed also have to watch, because if you notice that when you're watching Fox, you see it every day. When you watch Fox News, they make it seem like, oh, Trump, our president's doing this, doing all this great things and stopping it and making the Black Lives Matter movement look like something monstrous. And then when you look on CNN, they have the other side. So, I think the media needs to be cohesive and transparent. And I think as America is waking up, I think they're noticing that. So I just think people are digging deeper to kind of research themselves now for their own information. And I think that's good, because I think, I can't say I think, but for so long, the media has been like the ultimate answer, right? They could tell us anything and we're like, okay, so I think times are changing though, because I think people are kind of really doing their research. And sorry, I keep saying I think, but yes.
Janiyah and Kashar and Dewan, we want to hear from you a little bit. What do you guys think about the media?
I feel as though that there are some outlets that you can trust, and there are certain outlets that you can't trust, because there is a lot of fake news out there that try to portray us as being bad. It tries to make people persuade people to look at us as being bad rather than understanding the bigger picture. People look at situations that have to do with an African American and immediately think it's bad. They stereotype so fast, so easily, without even hesitating to even introduce to us, not even have a conversation, because there's a lot of people that don't know what we go through on a daily basis. Yeah, they like to almost keep us on our toes, I would say, only because every day, it's not like I can say that I'm okay. I cannot say I'm okay every day, because every day I'm always thinking about something, because there's always a what if situation in your head, because everywhere you go as African American is dangerous. It's really dangerous, because you never know what can happen. I should not have to tell my mom where I'm at every 20 minutes, just at the fact of my safety alone. And I'm 19 years old, and I still tell my mom I love her, because it's like, not a day goes by where I don't love her, but at the same time, I don't know what can happen to me. And that's what I shouldn't have to worry about.
And you bring up a really good point, and I actually have a really good question for that. So we're gonna let Janiyah and Dewan answer. And then we have a question from Facebook, which kind of brings us back to our conversation about the conversations you may have had with people within your friend circle and in your family and at work. So Janiyah, I'll start, then Dewan, and then we'll go there.
Just like Kashar said, the social media, they always try to make it seem like Black people are bad, and they do all these stereotypes and false information, and it's just, it's crazy.
Dewan?
The media stokes the flames. The first week of everything going on after Mr. George Floyd's death, they were showing the protest. 2 weeks later, it's all about the rioters and the looting, taking attention away from what actually matters in the situation and shining it elsewhere. It's everything that kind of demean us and demoralize us, show that they really don't care about that movement. So yeah, that's how I feel. There's only certain media outlets that are actually showing everything going on, you know, the broad scope of it, not just one certain aspect of it. So that's how I feel about that.
Thank you. And thank you all for sharing about that. I want to take us back to the conversations, because while we're watching the media, while we're seeing all of this going on, you have people that are very easily naive or manipulated and listen and believe to what the media may say. And so you have to have certain conversations, right? Pointed conversations about what's going on. Even though they may get tiresome, you sometimes still have to educate, right? So one question, what do you all think needs to be done in order to effectively bring people to a place where they can recognize their own racism and change their behavior, so these conversations don't have to be had every time something happens? And whoever would like to chime in, go ahead.
That's a good question. I think a lot of people don't like to recognize their own racism, or they really truly don't believe that they are racist, but they have those microaggressions and those racial tendencies. So I think, I don't know, because I think that we've been doing a lot to try to get people to recognize their racism. Like the protests, it's not about us being more superior, it's about showing, yeah, we are equals, we matter as well. And I think people, they hear that one person just say, oh, this is a call, or this is this and this is that, and they just take it and run with it. You know, so I think it's going to take time to get people who right now are not trying to recognize the racism. It's going to take time for them to.
Could you give us maybe an example of a way that you feel you could help bring people to recognize? What's something that you think could be implemented? I know I put you on the spot.
I honestly don't know. I honestly personally don't think it's my responsibility to teach others of their racism. If you are a grown person and you can't realize and recognize that you are racist, at that point, like, I don't want to say like they're a lost cause, but that's what it feels like. I think people, like, honestly, what I think is changing people's views are our allies. Personally, I don't think it's us. I think it's our allies, and like they're able to tell their family, hey, like this is wrong, this is not right, and stuff like that. So I think they honestly play a huge role in it, and I think that's why it's so important that they speak up.
Thank you, Shay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew. Oh, is he frozen?
Yeah, I think Andrew's frozen.
Think so? Ethan, I'd like to hear from you on about that question.
I think we as a people need to start focusing on the bigger picture, not focusing on technological like advancements or launching rockets in space or whatever the case may be, but really just working on creating a stronger bond between people, letting go of the past and basically destroying all discrimination that we can, because we shouldn't be living in a world where discrimination is still a thing. That was a thing of the past. It shouldn't have been a thing of the past at all, but it's a thing of the past. We are living in 2020 right now. This should be a new society where we should be very accepting of one another, very loving of one another, very kind to one another, no matter what the color of your skin is. And I feel like we just really need to work on fixing that problem first, just the connection problem that we all have between each other.
And what are some ways, do you think, being from the white community as well, what are some ways that you think they could recognize their racism, or what are the conversations you may be having?
I guess to recognize their racism is just looking back at their life, looking back at see if if they said anything that may have seemed racist at the time, whether it might have come off as a joke, whether it might have been meaningless to them, or whether it was supposed to be harmless. And they need to accept that at that point, they were racist. At that point, what they said was racist, and they need to come to terms with that. Only when they come to terms with that is when they can start moving forward and changing into a different person, becoming a person who accepts all views and accepts every single person for the color of their skin, and just can work alongside with everyone, I guess.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Andrew, I think I done you a little early. I don't know if you heard. Did you hear the question?
What was the question one more time?
The question was about what do you think may need to happen in order to effectively bring people to a place where they can recognize their own racism and change their behavior?
Right. I personally, I try to just talk to people, and I try very hard. I'll see someone online and I'll look at what they're posting and it's racist, and I try very hard to approach them in a way that, and it's very difficult to do this, but I try very hard to approach people in a way that doesn't make it seem like I'm saying you're a terrible person, because being racist is bad and you're not a good person. But you can, if you approach somebody with the mindset of like, I want to help you, I'm not here to antagonize you, I just want to tell you what I'm looking at and what is wrong with it, I think people accept it a little more. When you're just, it's difficult to be kind to people like that sometimes, but when you just stay positive with them and don't, I don't know, it is tough to change people, but
definitely. And I feel
try, or yeah. I feel I have to try.
I like that. Thank you, Andrew. Janai and Kashar, see you unmuted yourselves. How do you feel about that question?
I feel like in order for people to recognize their racism, it starts with themselves. Like they have to, like Ethan said, like you have to think back, like if you did anything, said anything, all that stuff. And like it also starts within your household, teaching people, like teaching like your family members and your friends about all that.
Kashar, do you have anything to add?
Well, basically, what also can help is that it's simply just doing more research about this problem, because a lot of people don't understand that this is a movement. This isn't just an event. This isn't just temporary, because we've been doing this for a very long time. It feels like that we haven't gotten anywhere. And to me, it seems like it's so little to do, because it really is. A little bit goes a long way, and a lot of people don't understand that. We are going one step at a time, but we can't get a step farther without more support. And unfortunately, there are many people that don't see the bigger picture and need to open their other eye to situations like this. Yeah. Because without their help, and people are also complaining about hearing about this movement, but the reason why y'all going to keep hearing about this movement is because you guys aren't supporting us.
You're not listening.
And we feel like we need to be heard, because we do need to be heard.
Thank you. Are any of you hopeful?
Honestly, I am, but it's going to take time. It's obviously going to take time, because there's always going to be a bad bunch. There's always going to be
those people.
It's like yin and yang. There's always going to be a bad to a good. But once you get enough of the good, the bad cancels out. So with enough support in the long run, if we can get enough support, like I hopefully do think that we will, most of this can be put at rest, or at least majority of it, at the fact that there's a lot more people that understand what we are talking about, because this isn't fiction, this isn't false, because most of us live through it every single day. And that's what people need to understand. And we don't say this to be rude, we don't say this at all. It's just a simple fact that it's the truth, and that we're sick and that we're tired. But there's always going to be people that's going to think otherwise. And it's up to the people that are also neutral to choose their side, because it's either you're one or the other.
I have a question for Dewan and Kashar, actually. As young Black men, how do you feel from your safety, from conversations your parents have with you? Just kind of tell us your real experience.
I personally don't feel safe when I leave the house. Just based on everything I've seen in the media, I've seen a man get killed needing help with his car. You know, just based on his skin colors, you know, any action that I could do the same as a white man, mine can be deemed aggressive. I can get killed for it. They won't. So, you know, when I was 16 and I just started to drive, my parents both told me blatantly, if you get pulled over, put both hands on the wheel and just wait till they come to the car. And I you know, at that point I understood, but now I get it more than ever. And I don't feel like they should have had to tell me that. They shouldn't have had to tell me that. I should be safe the same as a person of another color or a white person. When they drive and get pulled over, they don't fear for their life. Every time I get pulled over, I fear I won't see my mom again. I won't see my dad. That shouldn't be the case, but sadly it is. So, you know, conversations like this can help push the agenda forward. And I don't know that in my lifetime I'll ever not be scared, but maybe for my future kids, maybe they won't be.
Are you hopeful, Dewan?
Not in my lifetime, no. I just honestly no. Not for as long as I'm on this earth. It's just too much. There's too much hate, and then no amount of, you know, persuading can change people. There's families who are just, you know, deeply rooted in their racism, and they don't plan on changing. But people in my generation who are actually trying to change, their kids can be the start of a more equal, you know, a more equal world, or where it's not just black and white, where it's just we're just a people, and you're not just judged on the content. Well, you're judged on the content of your character, but not on your skin. But that's how I feel about that.
Yeah. Kashar?
Add on to the point of what Dewan said, I shouldn't have to have these conversations with my mom. I should not have to have a conversation about every single event that's happening to an African American male. And at the simple fact that I'm not safe also in a small town of Auburn, because there has been instances where I've been in a car with one of my white friends and we've been pulled over. Yeah, I've been searched, even though I have nothing to do with driving. I've been searched while my friend has gotten a free pass, while I've been stuck outside the car, while I had to go to the station over the fact that of my skin color, the fact that I was wrongfully ID'd, even though I had my ID on me. So there's a lot that plays in, and it's like, it's hard. Every day it's hard. And it's like I can't stress it enough, because there's a lot of people that don't know how most African American males are feeling, because it is a bad feeling every single day that you're not safe, and that one day something can happen to you and you won't know.
And I think with that, and thank you both for sharing, I think with that, you all have to maybe have experienced, and Andrew and Ethan as well as allies, some sort of trauma, right? Can we talk a little bit about that? What are some things that, you know, are running through your mind while you're out in the community, or Andrew and Ethan, while you're with your siblings? What are some things going through your mind Andrew, what are some things while you're with your friends? You know, how much do you worry about them as well? What's that trauma look like? Because I think a lot of people don't understand that it is very traumatizing.
I'd have to say, having two younger siblings who are biracial, it's frightening, knowing that, seeing all the events that have happened on the news, and just seeing innocent Black lives being taken left and right, that could happen to them at any moment. It shakes me down to the core. I couldn't imagine really living in a world without them, much less living in a world without anyone that I know that is Black. Just knowing that, even my stepdad, like just knowing that any moment that they could just be walking out in the street or going to the store and their life could just be taken just like that. It's a frightening thing to know about, and I don't want to live in a world like that. That's why we need change, and because innocent lives shouldn't just be taken away.
Thank you, Ethan. Andrew?
Yeah, I guess I just feel like to go around the community and see all different people walking down the street and to consciously realize like that these all different people are being looked at differently. It's very upsetting to look at people and think like, oh, like like these two people are sitting next to each other. This person's Black and this person's white, and these people are going to be judged differently. It's just, and I say that, and it even makes me feel bad to say that because some of you guys live it. You live it, and I feel terrible that that people have to go through that. I really just feel terrible that people have to go through that.
You know, and I think a lot of the times we do look at it out of the lens of our Black and brown brother and sisters, but we also have to look at it the lens of our allies too, because you also are supporting and going through and you're stepping out of that zone, especially if you come from families, and especially if some of them come from families to where they did have to break that mold and that generational curse of racism and step out on their own 2 feet. So it is hard, you know, for allies as well to speak out against the norm, because racism has become a norm since 400 years ago, right? And it's very deep rooted into our culture, into the culture, and into America. And so a lot of people are stepping outside of that. And so as allies, we have to check on you as well, right? I want to ask Andrew and Ethan, for young adults that want to be allies but may be afraid to speak up or may not know what to say, what can you give? What advice can you give to them when this happened? What was something that you immediately felt that you needed to say or do?
I feel like personally the first thing that I did when all this started happening was just listen, because I can't comprehend what it feels like to be a person of color walking down the street. So my priority number one has just been listen to Black people, people of color, and see what they have to say, because ultimately people of color, Black people live it and I don't. So listening to people is important, and following their lead is important.
Thank you, Andrew. Ethan?
For me, it was really just paying attention to what was going on and then listening to the conversations that were being had, learning, doing any research that I could just to find out what more I could do, I guess, and just not being afraid to express my opinions and express my thoughts and feelings about the situation. The only way this can get better is if you're not afraid to express your feelings and opinions. only then when you express your opinions and feelings, then that's when more serious conversations can be had and things can start to hopefully get better.
That's so true. And you know, I really feel, well, the world just needs more conversation, I'll say. I just, we're all the same. Honestly, we all have some of the same story. And the fact of the matter is, if we all took the time to listen instead of saying our own opinions and listening, I think we would have, a better outcome.
I agree. I did want to point, and I think we have time for maybe a couple more questions before we get some closing statements. Ashley had asked a good question to Dewan and Kashar about how they feel about being Black men in America, but I really want to make a point to Janiyah and Shaylin about how do you feel about being Black women? Because while we see it within the media and you see it within everyday life, how Black women can be treated. And you guys can both speak to this, but we can talk about, say her name, you know, and a lot of them that go under the radar, you know, and it's not to take away from our Black men, but a lot of the times our Black women are the one that are not getting the support that they need. So I just wanted to hear from you two on that.
I think, honestly, Black women, we're women and we're Black. So we are probably the most unprotected in America. And not long before George Floyd, there was a Black woman, an EMT, first responder, shot and killed in her sleep, and no mention of her, nothing has happened. And I think we're just overlooked. I think everything has just been so overlooked. We're just so quick to, which I'm not taking away from Black men because they are, like, you know, very sought out and sought after when it comes to like racism, but Black women are living through it too. And I don't think people realize it and they don't want to talk about it because since then there's been just Black women in her car, white man comes up and shoots her, literally for her skin color. And it's not being talked about. And I think these are the things that need to be talked about because it's something that Black women fear when they leave their house. Am I going to come into contact with that one angry person who can take my life? And I just don't think they allow us to talk about it as much.
Yeah.
Good point, Shan. Very good point.
Naya?
Like Shaylin said, like Black women are the least protected, and like I shouldn't have to worry about, like when I'm leaving Kashar's house and I'm going home and it's late at night, I shouldn't have to be scared to just go to unlock the door and get in my house without something happening to me because I'm a woman.
Yeah. You could say it because you're what?
Black and I'm a woman.
That's right. Thank you both for sharing that. I just wanted to see because I think a lot of the times we do kind of miss that conversation about Black women in America. And I think a lot of the times it goes to because we're considered so strong that sometimes they overlook what actually is going on. So I just wanted to ask where your mindset was on that. Ashley, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think they made very good points, and it's very true. You can go on the internet right now and see how many Black women have been killed by the police, equally as much. And when I personally even looked it up, I was shocked to see how many never hit the news and are just, their stories have got lost in the sauce. But, you know, I just think it's sad because these Black women have families, they have kids, you know, especially the one Shaylin talked about. She just graduated high school and someone shot her at the red light. She was taking her grandmother to the store, never hit the news. It hit social media. That's how I honestly found out about it. And the original post was, no the news isn't going to hear about this, but we need this to be spread now. And she literally graduated 2 days before she was murdered and was excited about college. So I think those are very good observations. We're the least respected and most unprotected for sure.
Thank you. So we have a few minutes left. So I just want to ask, any closing statements, any last minute things that you guys want to get off your chest and say?
I have one thing, and that is we are all human on the inside. We're all human on the inside. Like, we're all the same on the inside. So it really shouldn't matter what the color of our skin is. If we're all the same on the inside, that means we're all the same people. We should all have the same love for one another, the same kindness for one another, the same acceptance of one another.
Any more closing statements?
Just to people who are tuning in and watching, just remember that just because, there's no protests here really happening anymore, the issue is still alive. It's still well. Continue to share your voice, let your voice be heard. Continue to sign petitions, share them, because there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. Continue having the tough conversations with your friends and family, because that's the only way things are going to change.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shay.
Anyone else like to share?
I feel like it's up to my generation to start making a change for everything that's going on. They need to stop being so ignorant and just so blinded by everything going on and start speaking up and making a change for one.
Thank you, Janiyah. Would anyone else like to share before we wrap this up?
I guess I'd like to say, just to bounce off of what Shay said, that we can't stop. We're going, and we cannot stop. We can't slow down. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So we cannot stop, and we will get justice.
All right. Thank you, Andrew. All right. Well, we want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight. We also want to thank APT for giving us this space to be able to have these conversations. We're very much appreciative of that. We also want to tell everyone that this is a 3-part series, and so we will be continuing this conversation July 9th and July 16th. July 9th, we are going to dig more into our community, our schools, our education, police brutality. On July 3rd, in July 16th, please join in, because then we'll be talking about initiatives of how we plan to have change within our community and what we plan to do. So we will invite everyone too that may have some ideas or that may want to join in on that conversation. So we want to thank everyone for tonight. You guys stick around after, and we'll have a little conversation.
Thank you.